I'm cutting off this dead wood. You want to cut it back till you get to green wood. See, that's a green cane. That's alive, but it's not live down here. But I cut it back to green wood. Now I cut one off of there, and it's not green wood, but I can't go any further. I know it's green at that big bulge because this one's growing. And see this one we were talking about that's leaning over? See, I'll go all the way back and cut it off right where that tie is, above where that green is. It may be green there and it might not be. And like this one, I will cut it off as close to here as I can without damaging this spot. So I'll cut it just about where that bud is. I just cut the one off that was hanging over that wire, and see, I cut the green. I cut this one off a little bit ago. I'm trying to show you how they'll weep. See how that drop, the sap's coming out of it, and it'll just drip. Ooh, there's one getting ready to drop. Don't worry about it, it'll heal over. This is going to be a long video, but you'll be doing yours and go, why not I ought to cut it? I wish you'd have shown me that. Well, see that branch that's going off over there? It's about 4 feet long. It's going to get cut off right there. That's going to get cut off right there. This piece right here will be cut off right at that bud. See this piece hanging out here? And we'll cut it off right there. See this one here? I'm going to cut it off right there. I will probably cut the other off later, but right now I'm just trying to get this down to a manageable size, because when you're trying to cut off and worry about whether you should cut it or not, you don't need all this other stuff in your way. See, there's a lot of dead stuff in here. You can already see over here that it's not as thick. Something as complicated as grapes, I can't shoot a 2-minute video, so might be in 2 or 3 sections. But you can already look at that and see that there's a lot left on the left, and I haven't finished cutting all the dead off, than there is there. Just wait a few minutes. This won't take long. I'll cut all this. If I wasn't filming it, I'd get all the dead off here in 6-8 minutes. Have me a nice trash can to throw it in. Here's a nice example. It's obviously this one is dead, and if you follow it up, there's a bud, and you go, oh, I'll just cut it off there. But it comes out under there and goes that way. So if you just arbitrarily cut it off right there, you would lose all those buds, and you may or may not want them to be gone when you cut the real stuff. Now you have to agree that that looks a lot cleaner. So now it's a lot easier to see what you need to cut off, isn't it? Because you get all the dead out. And the dead's got to go out anyway. Now we do this side, and this is a weaker vine. So it's going to look really skinny when I get the dead out. Here's another little tip. When you cut these dead things out and pruning the rest of it later, that little teeny bud right there, it wouldn't take anything to knock that off. I could just flick it with my nail and it'll disappear. That's the same way, but take just a little more pressure. See where that bud, it got knocked off because I cut the end of this one off and laid it up here, and it just touched that and knocked it right off of there. No big loss. It probably won't even be, that one won't be on there when we're finished. Once they get a little bit more size to them, they're harder to knock off. But until they start turning color of brown and getting away from this green, you can knock these off. You could just take your finger and hit that really hard and it'll fall right off. So you got to watch it, because if you drag the vine, a dead branch across this, you can knock all these off, and they might be the clusters that's going to put your grapes out. That's 2 clusters of grapes. That's 2 clusters of grapes. That's 2 clusters of grapes. If I was using that, I need 10 of those to give me 20 on 1/2 of this. I'll get back so you can see the whole grapevine, because some's hanging out over there and some's going the other way, and that'll be trimmed out. But see how much more daylight is there? How much less things you have to worry about? Now right now, every cut I make from here on can cost me grapes if I do it wrong. That's why I don't want to look at one branch that appears to be dead and make the cut and then look and see I have all that growth on it. And then I've lost that branch that I might have needed, plus the dead branch still has to be cut off. That is a lot less clutter. It's not a lot, but that's what I took off. That's just dead. The 3 Ds. Dead, diseased, damaged, and anything that's rubbing. And we still got a lot to cut off of this. When I bought this several years ago, I imagine this is on its 5th year at least. This trunk you got a picture was up straight. See, I had these two here, and I had this one to run the bottom line, and I lost that one. And see that one coming out of here? These would be what you would call like a renewal spur. Because this is old wood, it's not going to grow grapes. But next year that wood will grow grapes. And on this one over here, I have those coming out of the trunk, but that is such a small little stub, I don't know that would be healthy enough. But you can see where I did have the one down here to grow on this, and it had to be cut off when it died. Now this, you can tell by the color, will grow grapes. It came from here. That is a year older than this, so that will not grow a grape. But it's sending out a shoot. And this shoot can grow 6, 8, 10 feet. And everything that comes off that next year will be your grapes. So I can cut this off next year. I have to leave part of this on here to have grapes. And see, this one is last year's wood. It grew grapes. These new buds will grow grapes when they come out, and they'll get fairly long. But that is old wood. And see, there's nothing coming out of this bark. That is older wood, and stuff is coming out of the bark. It's not a good intersection for it to happen. And you can, whoops, see one down there too. Now a lot of plants, when they are in, let's say this was in trouble and all that, and you cut it back to just say this area, it's not guaranteed, but you'd be surprised how many, since all the energy is still in the roots and it's got all that roots and it doesn't have to support all this, it will make and come out of the trunk and make a new branch. It's always better to do it the way you're supposed to do it, but we've cut down bushes that were in trouble and dead at the top all the way back to green wood, and they send out new shoots from the side. Same thing over here. See, there's one there, two there, one of those, the smaller of them, you'll knock it off, and there's 3 there. But that will be 3 canes that'll grow 8, 10 feet long, and it will produce grapes next year. But you won't get grapes off that because 2-year-old wood doesn't produce grapes. It's last year's. See, this is too old to produce. That's probably 2 years old. That's going to be a vegetative cane that will produce next year, like that one. Now that one grew out of this joint last year, and it'll produce grapes, but this one will produce next year. You can see the color. This will produce grapes this year. See all that light brown stuff? That's where your grapes are going to come from. And see, that one came off of here. So this is a vegetative thing, cane that will come out that I'll use for grapes next year. So I have to keep those if I'm going to have grapes. And by doing that, next year this won't provide any more. I will get it from here, and I can keep it between the poles.